Video inspelningen har påhört.
Hello guys, this is Roger here from Sweden. In this little video, I'm not going to make any visualizations for two reasons. One thing, I don't see them myself. Secondly, I don't have enough devices to do this. Anyway, in today's session I'm going to talk about the app Badoo, Meet New People. It's a great way to find new people, and they say it's easier than ever. However, there are some flaws in it. I'm going to try to describe as good as I can how I mean. Now, in order to do this fairly, I have used two different devices. I have used my iPhone 6 with voiceover, and I also have used my Motorola Moto E2 4G LTE, which is an Android phone with Android Lollipop 5 on it, which is what I'm using now to making this video. But anyway, so it's a quite nice phone. Anyway, and of course I've used Google's TalkBack screen reader. To start with, I'm going through the problems and the pluses for the iOS device, the iOS version, sorry. First of all, as far as the login screen goes, it's nothing really strange about that. It's pretty straightforward. But as soon as you come into the app and as soon as you're logged in, the problems start to emerge like a bad penny. For one thing, there is no labeled buttons anywhere. So that's a big minus for the iOS device. For example, let's say you are in the encounter session and decide, okay, this one I read about, okay, I like that. So then you would like to press the like button on the profile. Now here comes the problem. You don't know which button is the like button, because every button is exactly the same. Because what VoiceOver does is it just tells you it's a button. So it's actually not labeled. And this, I don't really understand why they haven't thought about that from the developers' side of it. It should have been thought about. I mean, after all, we are living in 2016. Come on. So yeah, that's a big minus on the iOS device. The other minus on the iOS device is actually in the menu session. You cannot actually swipe left or right with VoiceOver on to find the different sections, like messages, visitors, etc. So what you need to do is trying to tap around on the screen freely, which can be, for some users, I think it can be pretty annoying. So yeah, that's two minuses for for the iOS device. So now, but there are some positive things though. The message section is quite accessible. However, there are some funny things about that. It's nearly impossible to read sort of conversation history. Let's say if you if you had a long chat with a user you like, and then want to backtrack in order to continue the conversation. There is no way you can do that. So all right, so far 3 minus for the iOS device. But I was talking about the plus sides. I know it sounds a bit confusing, so here we go. The plus side is the message section in its writing mode. It's rather simple, really. And for once, I found a labeled button in Badoo. Wow, I'm impressed. I wonder if the guys who developed it had a hangover when he did it. Because the send button on the iOS device is actually labeled. This is pretty strange. Anyway, so that's 1 plus for to the iOS. So 3 minus 1 plus so far. Okay, and the other big plus is the fact that when you enter a profile, it's easy to scroll by just swiping right in order to scroll through the whole profile. So it's nothing strange about that. So that's a plus for the iOS device, iOS version. So as a summary, we have a total of 3 minuses and 2 pluses for the iOS version of Badoo. Meet new people. All right, let's go ahead now and have a look at the Android version. The login screen, well, nothing to really explain there. It's quite self-explanatory. But just like the iOS version, as soon as you enter the app and when you're logged in, there, the problem comes. The only buttons that I could find which are labeled, is actually the filter and the navigate up button. So, well, it's still a minus to the Android version because they don't have any labeled buttons. Still, although I have brought it to the support team's attention, so maybe, who knows when they are going to improve that. There is one thing that puzzles me a bit in the Android version. For instance, when you go to people nearby section and enter that, all you can see is a row of numbers, or at least that's what the TTS voice is reading out for you. You had to actually enter the profiles in order to make the names visible. So yep, that's 2 minus so far for the Android version. And the third and final minus for the Android section is Android version is actually the navigation in the profiles. On the first screen, you can basically only, as far as you can see, a sort of number between two of the unlabeled buttons. I don't know what it means. I mean, maybe it has to do with photos or something. Then you see the name and maybe also the place where this person is at, right now. But then you have to use every single knowledge about scrolling with TalkBack in order to maybe find the section, maybe about me, or if he or she lives alone, has any kids, etc., interests, gifts, etc. So that's why the third and final minus for the Android version. Okay, let's have a look on the plus side. The plus side is actually the settings. Although the button is unlabeled, as usual, I'm starting to getting a bit allergic to those. But it's easy to look. It's easy to locate. Actually, it's just beside your name. So there is one plus. The settings is actually quite accessible on the Android version. I didn't mention it on the iOS version though, because there is no settings to be set. At least not as far as I can find. But then again, something that does work so much better on the Android version is the menu, or I think they call it the start page, where you find, the encounters, visitors, etc. In there, you can easily just swipe left or right in order to find the right thing to tap on. So, yeah, that's one plus for the Android. Well, yeah, I think that's about it for now. The time is going fast. So in total sum, the both versions of Badoo Meet New People gets 3 minuses, and we have 2 pluses on the iOS and 1 on the Android version. So there you go, guys. Please comment down below, and don't forget to give this the thumbs up and share it if you like. I'm going also to do this video in Swedish for Swedish viewing. So, okay, thanks for watching, and I'm Roger. See you next time. Bye bye.